You know, some art is just designed to be loud, to grab your attention and not let go. But what about art that does the exact opposite? Today, we're going to dive into the incredible ability of certain Japanese artists to capture profound silence, a stillness so complete you feel like you can almost hear it. Let's get into how they pull it off.
I know, it sounds like a strange question, right? Obviously, paintings don't make noise. But have you ever looked at a piece of art and just felt this deep sense of quiet wash over you? That's the mystery we're unpacking today. How these artists create an atmosphere so still it feels like time itself has just stopped.
And to figure this out, we're going to look at two absolute masters of the craft. One is a more modern painter, and the other is a printmaker who, about a century ago, basically perfected this art of silence.
So our first master is the famous painter Higashiyama Kaii. His work is the perfect place to start because it's often described as the very embodiment of silence. I mean, you look at his paintings and it feels like not a single sound could escape from the canvas.
Just look at his masterpiece, The Year-End. What we're seeing is a Kyoto street totally blanketed in snow on New Year's Eve. Everything is still. But the real story, the subtle one, is happening behind those illuminated windows where people are quietly thinking back on their year. Kaii just captures this mood perfectly with his signature Higashiyama blue, this amazing blend of blue and green that feels so deep and contemplative.
Now, finding art that has that same exact serene atmosphere is pretty rare, but that search leads us right to our main focus today, Kawase Hasui. He was a woodblock print artist from about a century ago, and his work gets remarkably close to that same profound quiet, just with his own unique spin on it.
So, what was Hasui's secret? How do you do it? Well, his genius really comes down to two key concepts from Japanese aesthetics, and once you get these, you can totally see how his art creates such a distinct, serene feeling.
The first one is ukuyuka shisa. The best way to think about it is as a kind of refined understatement. It's an elegance that doesn't shout for attention, you know? Hasui's art isn't trying to make some big loud statement. Its beauty is subtle, it's restrained, and it's just deeply elegant.
The second concept is soko hakatomasa. Now this one is all about profound subtlety. It's that deep feeling or meaning that you get from a scene, even though it's not explicitly shown. It's the story that you can just sense happening right beneath the surface, like the lives of the people inside those quiet houses he was so good at drawing.
And here's how he actually achieved it. Hasui's whole process was brilliant. He'd start with a famous landmark, something everyone knows, but then he'd completely reject the typical touristy postcard view. Instead, he'd hunt around for a totally different angle, a new composition that created a quiet, reflective mood, all while making sure you still knew exactly where you were.
His use of color was just as intentional. His palette is often described as otanashi, which means something like composed or dignified, and it creates this fascinating paradox. By avoiding all those bright, flashy colors, he actually magnified the power of his work. The quiet tones make those subtle suggestions feel even more powerful.
But his technique went way beyond just composition and color. Hasui had another secret weapon for creating that atmosphere. He actually embraced what most of us would call bad weather.
This was his atmospheric toolkit: snow, rain, night, and twilight. He totally understood that these conditions weren't unfortunate at all. In fact, he saw them as these incredible tools for amplifying a scene's depth and creating a very specific, quiet mood.
And this wasn't just an occasional choice he made. Seriously, if you look through his collections, the scenes of snow, rain, and night far, far outnumber the clear, sunny days. He completely flipped the common perception on its head, turning bad weather into masterful art that feels richer and way more profound.
And this quote just illustrates his philosophy perfectly. He depicted the famous Miyajima Torii Gate at night, making it look like it's emerging like a mirage from the darkness. He wanted to show us the silent, contemplative half of its existence, the side that all the tourists never get to see. It's such a powerful way of revealing a hidden reality.
His snow scenes are particularly special. You see, snow does two things. Visually, it simplifies a whole landscape into this beautiful white expanse, and physically, it absorbs sound, creating this deep, profound silence. Hasui just perfectly captures that quiet joy of walking through a fresh, silent snowfall, a feeling anyone from a snowy region knows deep in their bones.
But to really see what makes Hasui's style so unique, let's compare him to some of the most famous artists in his field, the absolute masters of ukiyo-e, or woodblock prints.
The contrast in what they were trying to do is just stark. While Hasui was all about that understated elegance,
Artists like the legendary Hokusai and Hiroshige were going for maximum impact. A lot of their work basically functioned like travel ads for the Edo era, using these super dramatic compositions to make famous spots look absolutely spectacular.
I mean, just think of Hokusai's The Great Wave. It's an absolute masterpiece of power and drama, but there isn't a single trace of understatement in it. The goal was pure, high-impact visual punch.
So even though they were all working in the same medium, Hasui's whole artistic philosophy was the polar opposite. He chose quiet suggestion over a spectacular declaration, serenity over high drama.
So why does this art of silence have such a lasting appeal? What's the deal? Well, it all connects back to a core philosophy in Japanese aesthetics.
That philosophy is wabi-sabi. At its heart, it's all about finding profound beauty in things that are quiet, understated, and maybe a little imperfect. The silent, serene worlds created by Hasui and Kaii are just perfect expressions of this entire way of seeing the world. And this is exactly why this art resonates so deeply. In Japan, it connects to this long-held appreciation for wabi-sabi, but internationally, for audiences who are maybe a bit tired of the bold colors and forceful statements so common in Western art, Hasui's quiet elegance offers this deeply compelling and, frankly, calming alternative.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In our own lives, which are so often full of noise and constant stimulation, what can we take away from these artists who mastered the art of silence? What kind of beauty can we find just by pausing to appreciate the quiet moments? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.